Every single moment you waste, someone else is building the empire you dreamed of. Right now, as you listen to these words, there are people transforming their lives not through luck or genius, but through one extraordinary skill that most people never master: the art of concentration. What if I told you that the difference between the life you're living and the life you desperately want isn't talent, isn't money, isn't even time, but simply your ability to focus your mental energy like a laser beam on what truly matters? This is the revelation that changed countless lives over a century ago, and it's about to change yours. Theron Q. Dumont understood something that modern society has completely forgotten. In a world screaming for your attention from every direction, your mind has become scattered, fragmented, pulled in 1,000 directions until you feel like you're drowning in chaos. You start projects, but never finish them. You set goals, but abandon them. You dream big, but execute small. And deep down, you know exactly why you cannot concentrate. You cannot harness the full power of your mind and direct it with unwavering intensity toward the achievement of your desires. But here's the beautiful truth that's about to set you free. Concentration is not a gift you're born with. It's a skill you develop. And once you master it, nothing, absolutely nothing, can stand between you and your dreams. Let me take you back to a moment that will illustrate everything. Picture a young man, we'll call him Thomas, sitting in a cramped office, surrounded by colleagues who seemed to effortlessly climb the corporate ladder while he remained stuck. Thomas wasn't unintelligent, far from it. He read the same books, attended the same meetings, put in the same hours. But there was something different about him, something he couldn't quite name. He would sit at his desk with the best intentions, determined to complete the critical project that could change his career. But within minutes, his mind would wander. He'd think about the argument he had with his wife that morning, worry about bills, daydream about vacation, check his messages, refresh his email, and suddenly 2 hours had vanished and he'd accomplished nothing of substance. Sound familiar? One day, Thomas discovered a thin, worn book at a used bookstore, The Power of Concentration by Theron Q. Dumont. Skeptical but desperate, he began reading. And what he discovered didn't just change his career. It revolutionized his entire existence. Within 6 months, Thomas had been promoted twice. Within a year, he'd started his own successful business. Within 2 years, he'd become the person others looked at and wondered, how does he do it? The secret wasn't working harder or longer. It was working with complete, undivided, penetrating concentration. Now, you might be thinking, this sounds too simple, too good to be true. But stay with me, because what you're about to learn will shatter every excuse you've ever made about why you can't achieve your goals. Dumont begins with a premise so powerful, so fundamental, that once you truly grasp it, your entire approach to life will shift. He says that all success, every achievement, every great accomplishment in human history, has come from the ability to concentrate mental energy on a specific objective until that objective becomes reality. Think about that for a moment. The inventors, the entrepreneurs, the artists, the leaders, they didn't possess magic. They possessed the ability to focus their minds with such intensity that obstacles dissolved and solutions appeared. Your mind right now is like a magnifying glass. When sunlight passes through a magnifying glass held at random, nothing happens. The light is diffused, scattered, powerless. But hold that same magnifying glass at precisely the right angle. Focus those scattered rays into a single point, and suddenly you can start a fire. You can burn through obstacles. You can create intense heat and energy from the same light that was previously useless. This is exactly what happens when you learn to concentrate your mental energy. Right now, your thoughts are scattered, diffused, powerless. But once you master concentration, you transform those same thoughts into a burning, irresistible force that can accomplish anything you desire. The first critical lesson Dumont teaches is this: you must take control of your attention. Most people go through life as passive recipients of whatever their environment throws at them. Someone speaks, they listen. A notification buzzes, they check it. A worry pops into their head, they chase it down a rabbit hole of anxiety. They're like boats without rudders, pushed by every current, tossed by every wave, never choosing their direction, but simply reacting to external forces. This is not living. This is existing. And it guarantees mediocrity. To achieve anything exceptional, you must become the master of your attention, consciously choosing where your mental energy flows, moment by moment, hour by hour, day by day. Now here's where it gets fascinating, and where most people's minds are blown when they first encounter this truth. Dumont reveals that your inability to concentrate isn't actually the problem, it's merely a symptom. The real problem is that you've spent years, perhaps decades, training your mind to be weak, scattered, and undisciplined. Every time you gave in to distraction, every time you started something and didn't finish it, every time you allowed your thoughts to wander aimlessly, you were strengthening the neural pathways of mental weakness. You've been working out your mental muscles in exactly the wrong way, like someone trying to build strength by lifting feathers. But just as you trained yourself into this state, you can train yourself out of it, and when you do, the transformation is nothing short of miraculous. Let me share another story that perfectly captures this principle. There was a woman named Sarah who had dreamed her entire life of writing a novel. She had the ideas, the passion, the time. But somehow, year after year passed, and she never wrote more than a few scattered pages. She would sit down at her computer with determination, but within minutes she'd be checking social media, researching something tangentially related, reorganizing her desk, making another cup of coffee, anything but writing. She blamed her job, her family obligations, her lack of natural talent. Then she discovered Dumont's techniques and realized the truth. She had never actually tried to write a novel. She had tried to write while simultaneously doing a dozen other things with her mind. She had never given her creative work her full, undivided, concentrated attention, even for 5 minutes. Sarah began practicing concentration exercises that Dumont prescribes, starting with just 5 minutes a day of focused attention on a single task, nothing more. No phone, no music, no multitasking, just pure focused effort on one thing. Those 5 minutes were agonizing at first. Her mind rebelled, threw tantrums, conjured urgent distractions. But she persisted, gradually increasing the time as her mental muscles grew stronger. 6 months later, she'd completed her novel. 1 year later, it was published. 2 years later, she'd quit her corporate job to write full-time. The same person, the same brain, but with one critical difference: she had developed the power of concentration. Now let's dive deeper into the practical mechanics of how concentration actually works, because understanding this is crucial to your transformation. Dumont explains that your mind has essentially 2 modes: scattered awareness and focused concentration. In scattered awareness, which is where most people spend 95% of their time, your attention flits from thought to thought, like a butterfly in a garden, landing briefly on one flower before moving to the next. You're aware of many things simultaneously, but penetrating nothing deeply. You're busy, but unproductive, active, but ineffective. In focused concentration, you consciously direct all of your mental energy toward a single object, idea, or task, excluding everything else from your awareness. In this state, which most people experience only accidentally and briefly, you become capable of extraordinary mental feats. Think about the last time you were so absorbed in something that hours passed like minutes. Maybe you were working on a project you loved, reading a gripping book, playing a challenging game, or having a fascinating conversation. In those moments, you experience true concentration. And if you reflect honestly, you'll realize that those were also moments when you accomplished more, learned more, enjoyed more, and felt more alive than at any other time. This is not coincidence. This is the natural result of concentrated mental effort. And Dumont's entire system is designed to help you access this state not randomly, but deliberately whenever you choose. The journey begins with what Dumont calls the attention exercises. And I'm going to share these with you in detail because they're the foundation of everything that follows. The first exercise is elegantly simple, yet profoundly challenging. Sit in a comfortable chair. Place a simple object like a pen or a glass of water in front of you and concentrate your entire attention on that object for 5 minutes. Not think about the object, not daydream about it, but simply observe it with complete focus, noticing every detail, every curve, every reflection of light. When your mind wanders, and it will, gently bring it back without judgment. Do this once a day, every day, and you'll notice something remarkable. What seemed impossible on day 1 becomes merely difficult by day 7, challenging by day 14, and almost natural by day 30. Why does this simple exercise produce such dramatic results? Because you're literally rewiring your brain. Neuroscience has now confirmed what Dumont intuitively understood over a century ago. Attention is a trainable skill governed by specific neural networks that grow stronger with practice. Each time you notice your mind has wandered and bring it back to your chosen focus, you're strengthening the neural pathways of self-directed attention and weakening the pathways of mental drift. You're building your concentration muscle, and just like physical muscles, it responds to training by growing stronger and more capable. But here's where Dumont goes beyond simple exercises and into truly transformative territory. He reveals that concentration isn't just about mental discipline, it's about harnessing a fundamental force of the universe that he calls thought energy. This might sound mystical or new age, but stay with me because the principle is grounded in observable reality. Everything you see in the world around you, every building, every technology, every work of art, every human achievement began as a concentrated thought in someone's mind. The thought came first, focused and intense, and then reality rearranged itself to match that thought. This isn't magic. This is simply how creation works. Concentrated mental energy becomes physical reality. Consider for a moment the smartphone in your pocket or nearby. 30 years ago, it didn't exist. It was just an idea, a thought in someone's mind. But that person concentrated on that thought with such intensity, fed it with such focused mental energy, that eventually it crystallized into physical form. This same principle applies to everything you want to create in your life, whether it's a successful business, a loving relationship, a healthy body, or financial abundance. The creation process always begins with concentrated thought, and the intensity and duration of your concentration determines the power and speed of your manifestation. Now I want to share a story that perfectly illustrates this principle in action, because stories lodge truths in our minds more powerfully than abstract concepts ever could. There was a man named Robert who worked as a low-level accountant in a large firm. He was competent but unremarkable, earning a modest salary that kept him perpetually stressed about money. Robert had a dream of starting his own financial consulting business, but whenever he thought about it, a flood of doubts and fears would overwhelm him. He didn't have enough experience. He didn't have capital. He didn't have connections. He didn't have time. The dream seemed impossible, so he never took the first step. Then Robert read Dumont's book and learned about the power of concentrated thought. He decided to conduct an experiment. Every morning before work and every evening before bed, he would spend 20 minutes in concentrated mental focus on his desired business, not worrying about it, not planning every detail, but simply holding the image of himself successfully running his own consulting firm, feeling the emotions of that success, seeing the clients, experiencing the freedom and abundance. He did this with the same disciplined focus he'd learned from the attention exercises, pulling his mind back whenever it wandered into doubt or distraction. Something extraordinary began to happen. Within 2 weeks, a colleague mentioned that she knew someone looking for independent financial consulting. Within a month, Robert had landed his first client, working evenings and weekends. Within 3 months, he had 5 clients. Within 6 months, he'd quit his job and was earning more than he ever had as an employee. Within a year, he had a thriving business with a waiting list of clients. When people asked him how he did it, he couldn't point to any single strategy or lucky break. Instead, he'd say that opportunities seemed to appear out of nowhere. The right people entered his life at the right time. Obstacles that should have stopped him somehow resolved themselves. What he didn't fully understand, but had intuitively grasped, is that his concentrated mental energy had set forces in motion that rearranged circumstances to match his inner vision. This brings us to one of Dumont's most powerful insights: the distinction between concentration and worry. Most people confuse these two mental states, but they're actually complete opposites. Worry is scattered, chaotic mental energy focused on what you don't want. Concentration is directed, ordered mental energy focused on what you do want. Worry weakens you, concentration strengthens you. Worry attracts problems, concentration attracts solutions. The worried person and the concentrated person might spend the same amount of time thinking about their business, their health, or their relationships, but they get completely opposite results because the quality of their mental energy is completely different. Let's talk about another crucial aspect of concentration that Dumont emphasizes: the elimination of mental clutter. Your mind is like a room, and over the years you've filled it with so much junk that there's barely space to move. Resentments from past relationships, worries about future possibilities, regrets about missed opportunities, anger at injustices, fear of failure. These thoughts pile up like boxes in a hoarder's house until you can barely navigate your own consciousness. True concentration requires clearing this mental clutter, creating space for focused thought. This doesn't mean suppressing or denying difficult emotions. It means processing them, learning from them, and then releasing them so they don't occupy valuable mental real estate. Dumont provides specific techniques for this mental decluttering, and they're surprisingly straightforward. One powerful method is what he calls the evening review. Before sleep each night, spend 10 minutes mentally reviewing your day, not with judgment, but with honest observation. Notice where your attention was scattered, where you gave in to distraction, where you allowed negative thoughts to dominate. Don't beat yourself up about these moments. Simply observe them with detachment, understanding that awareness is the first step toward change. Then consciously release any lingering resentment, worry, or regret from the day, visualizing these thoughts dissolving like smoke in the wind. This practice prevents the accumulation of mental clutter and creates a clean slate for the next day's concentrated efforts. Another technique Dumont advocates is the strategic use of what he calls concentration periods. These are specific times during your day when you commit to absolute, uninterrupted focus on your most important task. Not pretty good focus, not focus with occasional phone checks, but complete, total, unwavering concentration as if your life depends on it. For most people, this might start with just 30 minutes a day, but those 30 minutes of true concentration will produce more valuable work than 5 hours of scattered effort. The key is to protect these periods ferociously, treating them as sacred appointments with your highest self that cannot be cancelled or rescheduled for any reason short of genuine emergency. Let me tell you about Michael, a struggling entrepreneur who implemented this concentration period strategy with remarkable results. Michael ran a small marketing agency that was barely surviving. He worked 12-hour days, constantly putting out fires, responding to emails, jumping on calls, always busy but never making real progress. He felt like he was running in place, exhausting himself while his business stagnated. Then he discovered Dumont's principles and made a radical decision. Every day from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., he would enter complete concentration mode, working only on the single most important strategic task for growing his business, with absolutely no interruptions. The first week was brutal. His mind, accustomed to constant stimulation and varied tasks, rebelled against this discipline. Urgent emails went unanswered. Phone calls went to voicemail. Team members had to wait for responses. But something magical happened during those 2 hours. Michael made more progress on core business development in 1 week than he'd made in the previous 6 months. He created new service offerings, reached out to potential major clients, developed strategic partnerships. Within 3 months of maintaining these daily concentration periods, his revenue had doubled. Within 6 months, it had tripled. Within a year, he'd built the business he'd always dreamed of, and he was working fewer hours than before because he'd learned to concentrate his efforts rather than scatter them. This principle applies to every area of your life, not just business or career. Want to improve your relationships? Stop giving your loved ones your leftover, scattered attention, and instead create concentration periods where you're fully present with them, really listening, really connecting, really there. Want to improve your health? Stop approaching exercise and nutrition with half-hearted, inconsistent effort, and instead concentrate intensely on these areas during specific times. Want to develop a new skill? Stop dabbling and dispersing your learning across multiple interests and instead concentrate all your educational energy on mastering one thing at a time. The pattern is always the same. Concentration produces extraordinary results. Dispersion produces mediocrity. Now let's address something critical that Dumont emphasizes and that trips up most people who try to develop concentration: the relationship between concentration and relaxation. Many people approach concentration with gritted teeth and clenched muscles, straining and forcing their attention, and they quickly burn out or develop headaches and tension. This is not true concentration. This is mental violence. Real concentration, Dumont explains, is a state of relaxed alertness, like a cat watching a mouse hole. The cat is completely focused, missing nothing, ready to act instantly. But there's no tension, no strain, just effortless, natural attention. This is the state you're aiming for. And you achieve it not through force, but through gentle, persistent practice. One of the most powerful exercises Dumont provides for developing this relaxed concentration is what he calls the body awareness practice. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and slowly move your attention through your body, starting with your toes and gradually moving up to your head. Notice any tension and consciously release it, allowing those muscles to soften and relax. When you reach your head, notice any tension in your face, jaw, or forehead and release it. This simple practice, done for just 5 minutes, creates the ideal physical and mental state for concentrated effort. Your body is relaxed, your mind is calm but alert, and you're ready for focused work without strain or tension. Here's something else Dumont reveals that will completely change how you approach your goals: the power of concentrated visualization. Most people set goals in a vague, abstract way. They say things like, "I want to be successful," or "I want to be happy," or "I want to make more money." But these statements are too nebulous to engage the full power of concentration. Dumont teaches that you must make your goals so specific, so vivid, so detailed in your mind that you can see them, feel them, almost touch them. This isn't just positive thinking. This is concentrated mental creation that activates all of your faculties toward manifesting that specific outcome. Let me give you a concrete example. Instead of "I want a better job," you concentrate on this. "I am working at company X as a senior manager, earning Y salary, leading a team of 5 people, working on projects that challenge and excite me, commuting to an office with windows overlooking the city, feeling respected and valued by my colleagues, using my skills in ways that make a real difference." Notice the difference. The second version engages all your senses and emotions. It's specific enough that your mind can lock onto it like a guided missile locks onto a target. When you concentrate on a goal with this level of detail repeatedly, something in your brain shifts. You begin to notice opportunities you previously overlooked, make decisions aligned with this goal, take actions that move you toward it, and attract circumstances that support its manifestation. Dumont shares an enlightening perspective on why some people seem to achieve their goals effortlessly, while others struggle despite working hard. The difference isn't intelligence, talent, or even work ethic. It's the quality and intensity of mental concentration. The successful person has learned, consciously or unconsciously, to concentrate their mental energy on their desired outcome with such intensity and consistency that obstacles seem to melt away and opportunities appear as if by magic. The struggling person disperses their mental energy across worry, doubt, distraction, and resentment, undermining their own efforts and sabotaging their own success. Both are working hard, but one is working with concentrated mental power while the other is working against themselves. This leads to another crucial principle: the necessity of single-minded focus. Dumont warns against the common trap of trying to pursue multiple major goals simultaneously. He explains that your mental energy is finite, like a stream of water. If you dig one channel, That stream can carve a deep, powerful river. If you dig 20 channels, the water disperses into weak trickles that barely make an impression. Most people are digging 20 channels, wondering why none of them are getting deeper. They want to start a business and learn a language and write a book and get in shape and improve their relationships and master a musical instrument, all at once. The result is that they make minimal progress on everything and mastery of nothing. The solution Dumont proposes is radical but effective. Choose one major goal, the one that matters most to you right now, and concentrate all of your available mental energy on that single objective until you achieve it. Not some of your energy, not most of your energy, but all of your available energy. This doesn't mean you neglect other areas of your life. It means you maintain them while devoting your concentrated creative effort to one specific breakthrough. Once you achieve that goal, then and only then do you select the next one and repeat the process. This sequential approach might seem slower than trying to do everything at once, but it's actually exponentially faster because concentration amplifies results in ways that division of effort never can. Consider Emma, a teacher who wanted to change everything about her life: lose weight, find a partner, earn more money, travel more, learn to paint. She spent years making minor efforts in all these directions and achieving little in any of them. Then she learned Dumont's principle of single-minded focus and made a difficult choice. She would concentrate all her energy on one goal first: losing weight and getting healthy. For 6 months, this became her primary focus outside of her essential responsibilities. She planned her meals with concentration, exercised with concentration, educated herself about nutrition and fitness with concentration. The transformation was remarkable, not just physically, but in every other area of her life. The discipline she developed spilled over into her finances, her relationships, her work. By concentrating on one goal, she actually accelerated progress on all the others. Within 3 years, using this sequential concentration approach, Emma had achieved everything on her original list, and she'd done it with far less stress and far more enjoyment than her previous scattered efforts had ever produced. Now let's explore what Dumont calls the concentration of thought in daily activities. This is where the rubber meets the road, because it's easy to concentrate during formal practice sessions, but much harder to maintain focus during the chaos of daily life. Dumont teaches that every activity, no matter how mundane, is an opportunity to practice and strengthen your concentration. When you're washing dishes, concentrate fully on washing dishes, feeling the water, seeing the soap bubbles, executing each movement with attention. When you're walking, concentrate fully on walking, noticing your breath, your footsteps, your surroundings. When you're listening to someone speak, concentrate fully on listening, really hearing their words, understanding their meaning, resisting the urge to plan your response while they're still talking. This might sound tedious or unnecessary, but it's actually one of the most powerful practices you can adopt. Every moment of concentrated attention strengthens your mental muscles. Every moment of scattered attention weakens them. By bringing concentration to ordinary activities, you're essentially getting dozens of short training sessions throughout your day, each one making you mentally stronger. Over time, concentration becomes not something you do, but something you are, a natural state rather than an effortful achievement. This is when you've truly mastered the skill, and this is when your life transforms completely. Dumont also addresses a challenge that everyone faces, dealing with external distractions and interruptions. In his time, the distractions were different than ours. No smartphones or social media, but the principle remains the same. You cannot control everything in your environment, but you can control how you respond to it. When an interruption occurs during a period of concentration, you have two choices. Allow it to fragment your attention and pull you completely off task, or acknowledge it briefly and immediately return to your chosen focus. The master of concentration chooses the latter every single time, treating interruptions like waves that wash over a rock but don't move it. One technique Dumont recommends for handling external distractions is what he calls the mental sanctuary. Before beginning any concentrated work, visualize yourself surrounded by an invisible barrier that protects your attention from external intrusions. This isn't about physical isolation, it's about psychological boundary setting. When a distraction presents itself, whether it's a noise, a thought, or an interruption, you visualize it bouncing off this protective barrier while your attention remains focused on your chosen task. This mental image is surprisingly effective because it gives your subconscious mind a framework for maintaining concentration despite external circumstances. Let me share the story of David, a writer who struggled for years to complete his book because he worked in a noisy, chaotic household with 3 young children. He tried to write only when everyone was asleep, but exhaustion limited his productivity. He tried to write in coffee shops, but different distractions appeared there. Then he learned Dumont's mental sanctuary technique and decided to test it. He set up a small writing space in a corner of his living room, not physically isolated, but mentally defined. Before each writing session, he would spend 2 minutes visualizing his concentration sanctuary, seeing it glow with protective energy. Then he would write, and remarkably, the surrounding chaos seemed to fade. Children played nearby, but he barely noticed. The television played, but it didn't penetrate his focus. He wasn't ignoring his family or being antisocial. He was simply practicing concentrated attention so effectively that external distractions couldn't break through. Within 6 months, using 1-hour focused writing sessions, in the middle of household chaos, David completed his book. The environment hadn't changed, but his ability to concentrate within that environment had transformed completely. This brings us to perhaps the most profound insight in Dumont's entire teaching: the realization that you are not your thoughts. You are the observer and director of your thoughts. Most people identify completely with every thought that passes through their mind, believing that thinking is something that happens to them rather than something they do. This is the root of mental weakness and the primary obstacle to concentration. When you realize that you can choose which thoughts to focus on and which to dismiss, when you understand that you're the conductor of the mental orchestra rather than just another instrument, everything changes. Dumont provides a powerful exercise for developing this awareness. Sit quietly and observe your thoughts as if you were watching clouds pass through the sky. Don't engage with the thoughts. Don't judge them. Don't follow them down their habitual pathways. Simply notice, there's a thought about work. There's a worry about money. There's a memory from childhood. There's a plan for tomorrow. By observing your thoughts in this detached way, you create space between yourself and your thinking. And in that space, you discover your power to choose. This is liberation. This is the foundation of all mental mastery. and this is what allows you to concentrate with true effectiveness. Many people fail to develop concentration because they approach it with the wrong mindset. They treat it as a restriction, a burden, a limitation on their freedom. They think that learning to concentrate means becoming rigid, boring, serious, losing spontaneity and joy. Dumont explodes this misconception completely. True concentration, he explains, doesn't reduce your freedom, it exponentially increases it. When you cannot concentrate, you're a slave to every passing impulse, every distraction, every mood swing, every external influence. When you master concentration, you become genuinely free to choose where your attention goes, what you accomplish, who you become. Concentration isn't the enemy of freedom, it's the prerequisite for it. Think about children before they learn to focus. They're pulled by every shiny object, every noise, every impulse. They seem free, but they're actually utterly controlled by their environment. As they develop the ability to concentrate, to focus on homework despite wanting to play, to practice piano despite initial difficulty, to persist with challenging tasks, they don't become less free, they become more free. They gain the power to achieve things that matter to them, rather than being tossed by every passing wind of circumstance. The same principle applies to adults, except most adults never learned real concentration, and so they live with the mental discipline of children while expecting adult results. This is why their lives feel frustrating and stuck. Dumont also emphasizes the intimate connection between concentration and willpower. Many people think they lack willpower, that they're weak or undisciplined by nature. But willpower isn't a fixed trait you either have or don't have. It's a mental muscle that strengthens through use. And the primary way you strengthen willpower is through practicing concentration. Every time you choose to focus on a difficult task, despite wanting to do something easier, you're building willpower. Every time you bring your wandering attention back to your chosen object, you're building willpower. Every time you persist with concentrated effort despite discomfort or boredom, you're building willpower. Concentration and willpower are two sides of the same coin, and as one grows stronger, so does the other. Here's a story that beautifully illustrates this principle. There was a man named James who considered himself fundamentally lazy and undisciplined. He would start exercise programs and quit after a week. He would begin saving money and blow his budget by month's end. He would commit to projects at work and lose motivation halfway through. He believed this was just his nature, that he was born without the discipline gene. Then he encountered Dumont's book and learned that willpower is trainable through concentration practice. He started with the simplest possible exercise. Every morning, he would concentrate his full attention on making his bed properly, treating it like a sacred ritual rather than a chore. Just this one act, performed with complete focus and attention every single day. Something remarkable happened over the following weeks. The discipline required to concentrate on this simple task began to spill over into other areas of his life. He found it easier to concentrate on his workout. He found it easier to stick to his budget. He found it easier to persist with challenging projects. It wasn't that making his bed magically gave him willpower. It was that the daily practice of concentration strengthened the mental muscles that willpower depends on. Within a year, James had transformed from someone who saw himself as fundamentally undisciplined into someone others described as remarkably focused and persistent. Same person, same brain, but trained rather than untrained. Dumont teaches that one of the most valuable applications of concentration is in problem-solving and decision-making. Most people approach problems with scattered, anxious thinking that goes in circles without reaching resolution. They worry about the problem, complain about the problem, discuss the problem, but they don't concentrate on the problem with the specific intention of finding a solution. Concentrated problem solving is completely different. You take the problem, strip away all the emotional charge and tangential concerns, define it as clearly and specifically as possible, and then focus your complete mental attention on it with the assumption that a solution exists and will reveal itself to you. This focused approach produces answers that scattered thinking never could. The technique Dumont recommends is this: write down your problem or decision in one clear sentence. Spend 15 minutes in concentrated focus on this problem, thinking only about it, examining it from different angles, holding it steadily in your attention. Don't try to force an answer, don't strain, just concentrate calmly and steadily on the question. Then, and this is crucial, let it go completely. Stop thinking about it and engage in some completely different activity. Often, within hours or sometimes days, the solution will pop into your mind seemingly out of nowhere. What's actually happening is that your concentrated attention activated your subconscious mind to work on the problem, and once you stopped interfering with conscious overthinking, the subconscious was free to deliver its answer. A woman named Lisa used this technique to solve a seemingly impossible business dilemma. Her company was bleeding money, she couldn't see a way forward, and bankruptcy seemed inevitable. She spent weeks in anxiety and scattered thinking, going over the same ground repeatedly without progress. Then she tried Dumont's concentrated problem-solving method. She wrote down the core question: how can my business become profitable? Within 6 months, she concentrated on this question for 15 minutes with complete focus, then deliberately stopped thinking about it and went for a long walk. 3 hours later, while she was grocery shopping, a complete business restructuring plan popped into her mind, fully formed. She immediately went home and wrote it down, and when she implemented it over the following months, it saved her business. The solution had been there all along, but only concentrated attention followed by release allowed it to surface. This points to another critical insight from Dumont: the power of the subconscious mind and how concentration engages it. Your conscious mind is like the tip of an iceberg, while your subconscious is the massive portion below the surface. The subconscious is vastly more powerful, containing all your memories, all your learned skills, all your intuitive wisdom, but most people never learn to harness it effectively. Concentration is the key that unlocks the subconscious. When you concentrate intensely on a goal or question, you program your subconscious to work toward that objective constantly, even while you sleep, even while your conscious mind is occupied with other things. This is why people who practice concentrated visualization often report synchronicities, lucky breaks, and opportunities appearing as if by magic. They've activated their subconscious to work on their behalf. Dumont also addresses the spiritual dimension of concentration, though he's careful not to be dogmatic about this. He suggests that concentrated thought might connect you with larger forces or universal intelligence that can assist your endeavors. Whether you interpret this spiritually, psychologically, or simply as the power of your own focused mind, the practical results are the same. When you concentrate deeply and consistently on a worthy goal, forces seem to align to support you, resistance diminishes, and progress accelerates beyond what pure effort alone would produce. Many successful people throughout history have reported this phenomenon, describing it variously as being in the flow, riding the wave, or being guided by something larger than themselves. Dumont proposes that all of these descriptions are pointing to the same reality: the extraordinary power of concentrated mental energy. Let's talk about concentration in relationships, because this is an area where most people fail spectacularly without realizing it. How many times have you been physically present with someone you care about while your mind was somewhere else entirely? How many conversations have you participated in while simultaneously thinking about work, checking your phone, planning your response, or daydreaming about something unrelated? This is not connection. This is the illusion of connection, and it's why so many relationships feel empty despite time spent together. Real intimacy, real connection requires concentrated attention, being fully present with another person, listening not just to their words, but to the emotions beneath the words, the concerns behind their statements, the person behind the personality. Dumont would say that the greatest gift you can give another person is your concentrated attention, and he's absolutely right. Think about the people in your life who make you feel truly seen and heard. What distinguishes them? They give you their complete attention when you're with them. They're not distracted, not half listening, not waiting for you to finish so they can talk. They're fully present, and that presence is magnetic and healing and transformative. Now think about how rarely you give this gift to others, and how much your relationships would improve if you did. The practice of concentrated attention in relationships isn't just good for the other person, it enriches your own life immeasurably by creating genuine connection instead of superficial interaction. There's a powerful story about a father and son that illustrates this perfectly. The father was a busy executive who prided himself on never missing his son's baseball games. He attended every single one, which seemed like dedicated parenting. But one day, his teenage son said something that broke his heart. "Dad, I wish you would actually watch my games of just being there." The father was confused. He was there at every game. But his son explained, "You're on your phone the whole time, Dad. You see me hit or miss, but you're not really watching. You're not really there." This hit the father like a thunderbolt. He realized he'd been giving his son his physical presence, but withholding his mental presence, his concentrated attention, which was what actually mattered. The father made a commitment. At the next game, he would practice complete concentration, watching his son with the same focused attention he brought to important business meetings. No phone, no emails, no wandering thoughts, just pure presence. And something magical happened. Not only did his son notice immediately, commenting afterward with genuine happiness, but the father himself enjoyed the game more than he ever had before. He saw nuances he'd missed, felt emotions more deeply, connected with his son on a level that had been absent for years. From that day forward, he made concentrated presence his gift to his family, and his relationships transformed completely. The amount of time hadn't changed, but the quality of attention had, and quality of attention is what creates real connection. Now let's explore how concentration applies to learning and memory, because this is where the power of focused attention becomes especially obvious. You've probably experienced this. You read an entire chapter of a book, but couldn't tell someone what it was about. You sat through a meeting, but can't remember what was discussed. You were introduced to someone, but forgot their name within seconds. This isn't because you have a bad memory. It's because you never properly concentrated on the information in the first place. Memory is the natural result of attention. You cannot remember what you never truly noticed, and you cannot truly notice something without concentrated attention. Dumont explains that the secret to a powerful memory isn't repetition or tricks, though these can help. It's learning to give concentrated attention to whatever you want to remember. When you meet someone new, concentrate fully on their face and name for just 5 seconds, really looking at them, really hearing their name, consciously connecting the two. That information will lodge in your memory far more securely than if you'd heard their name while your mind was elsewhere. When you read important material, read with complete concentration, pausing after each paragraph to ensure you've absorbed its meaning before moving to the next. This concentrated reading might be slower, but you'll remember more from 30 minutes of focused reading than from 3 hours of scattered reading. Consider a student named Marcus who was struggling in medical school despite being intelligent and hard-working. He would study for hours but retain very little, needing to review the same material repeatedly. His classmates seemed to learn faster with less effort, and he assumed they were simply smarter than him. Then a mentor introduced him to Dumont's principles of concentrated learning. Marcus realized he'd been studying while simultaneously listening to music, checking messages, thinking about personal problems, and allowing his mind to wander constantly. He was putting in the hours, but not the concentration. Marcus completely changed his approach. He began studying in 30-minute blocks of absolute concentration, with 5-minute breaks between blocks. During those 30 minutes, nothing existed except the material he was learning. No music, no phone, no multitasking, just pure focused attention on understanding and absorbing the information. The transformation was stunning. He found he could master in 1 hour of concentrated study what previously took him 4 hours of scattered study. His grades improved dramatically, his confidence soared, and he had more free time than ever before because he was working with concentrated efficiency rather than dispersed effort. Same brain, same material, but approached with concentration instead of distraction. This principle extends to skill development of any kind. Whether you're learning a language, practicing an instrument, developing athletic ability, or mastering a craft, concentrated practice produces exponentially better results than dispersed practice. 10 minutes of concentrated practice, where your full attention is on the specific aspect you're trying to improve, beats an hour of mindless repetition. This is why some people progress rapidly while others plateau despite equal time investment. The difference is quality of attention, intensity of concentration, precision of focus. Dumont also emphasizes the importance of what he calls purposeful concentration, which means knowing exactly why you're focusing on something and what you intend to accomplish. Concentration without purpose is like a powerful engine without a steering wheel. Lots of energy, but no direction. Before beginning any concentrated effort, take a moment to clarify your specific objective. Not vague goals like work on the project, but precise intentions like write the introduction section, presenting the main argument in 3 paragraphs. This clarity transforms random effort into targeted achievement. Here's something fascinating that Dumont observed. People who develop strong concentration abilities often report that time seems to expand for them. They accomplish more in less time, not just because they work more efficiently, but because their experience of time itself changes. When you're fully concentrated, you enter a state psychologists now call flow, where hours can feel like minutes, and yet you accomplish more in those hours than most people do in days. This isn't supernatural. It's simply the natural result of eliminating the mental friction and wasted motion that fills most people's work time. Think about how you normally work. You start a task, get interrupted by a thought or notification. Spend a few minutes dealing with that. Return to the task, but need to remember where you were. Make some progress. Notice something else that needs attention. Switch to that briefly. Come back again, and so on. This constant switching and restarting creates enormous inefficiency. Each time you lose focus and regain it, you waste mental energy. Concentrated work eliminates this waste entirely. You start, you focus completely until the task is done or your concentration period ends, and you accomplish multiples of what scattered work would produce. Let me share another illuminating story. There was a software developer named Alex who was known for being perpetually behind schedule. Projects that should take him a week would take 3. His managers were frustrated. He was stressed, and he couldn't understand why he was so much slower than his colleagues, despite working long hours. Then Alex tracked his actual concentration time during a typical workday and made a shocking discovery. Out of 8 hours at his desk, he spent maybe 90 minutes in actual concentrated work. The rest was consumed by checking email, browsing news, chatting with colleagues, attending meetings, dealing with interruptions, and mental transitions between tasks. Armed with this awareness, Alex implemented Dumont's concentration periods. He designated 3 2-hour blocks during his day as sacred concentration time, during which he would focus exclusively on his most important coding tasks. He informed his team he wouldn't be available during these blocks except for genuine emergencies, turned off all notifications, and protected these periods fiercely. The results were extraordinary. Within those 6 hours of concentrated work spread across his day, he accomplished what previously took him weeks. He went from being the slowest developer on his team to the fastest. And he did it while working fewer hours and experiencing less stress. The work hadn't gotten easier. His brain hadn't gotten smarter, but his concentration had transformed everything. Dumont teaches that concentration also has profound effects on your emotional state and overall well-being. When your attention is scattered, you feel anxious, overwhelmed, out of control. When your attention is focused, you feel calm, capable, empowered. This is why meditation, which is essentially concentration practice, produces such beneficial effects on mental health. You're training your mind to rest in focused awareness rather than chaotic rumination, and this training extends into your entire life. The person who can concentrate their attention is not controlled by their emotions, but can observe them, understand them, and choose how to respond to them. Consider anxiety, which plagues millions of people. What is anxiety but uncontrolled, scattered attention focused on worst-case scenarios? The anxious person cannot control where their attention goes. It leaps from worry to worry, each one feeling urgent and real, creating a cascade of stress responses in the body. But someone trained in concentration can interrupt this pattern. When anxiety arises, they notice it. They don't identify with it, and they consciously redirect their attention to the present moment or to a chosen focus. The anxiety doesn't necessarily disappear immediately, but it loses its power because it no longer controls their attention. There was a woman named Jennifer who suffered from severe anxiety for years. She tried medication, therapy, various techniques, all with limited success. Then she discovered Dumont's concentration practices and began treating her anxiety as an attention problem rather than an emotional problem. Whenever she felt anxiety rising, she would practice concentrated attention on her immediate physical sensations, The feeling of her feet on the ground, her breath moving in and out, sounds in her environment. Just 5 minutes of this concentrated attention would interrupt the anxiety spiral and return her to a state of calm. Over months of practice, her baseline anxiety dropped significantly because she'd trained her mind to focus on the present rather than catastrophize about the future. She hadn't eliminated life's stresses, but she'd developed the mental skill to remain centered despite them. This brings us to another crucial application of concentration in facing and overcoming fear. Fear, whether it's fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown, fear of discomfort, controls people's lives because it hijacks their attention. When you're afraid, your attention becomes fixated on the feared outcome, imagining it in vivid detail, feeling the emotions of that imagined failure as if it's already real. This concentrated attention on fear actually makes the feared outcome more likely because you're programming your subconscious toward failure rather than success. Dumont teaches that you must consciously redirect your concentrated attention away from what you fear and toward what you desire. This doesn't mean denying fear or pretending it doesn't exist. It means acknowledging fear, understanding it, and then consciously choosing to concentrate your mental energy elsewhere. For example, if you fear public speaking, the fearful approach is to concentrate on all the ways it could go wrong, forgetting your words, being judged, embarrassing yourself. The concentrated approach is to acknowledge that fear exists, then deliberately focus your attention on preparing thoroughly, visualizing successful delivery, concentrating on your message, and your desire to serve your audience. Same situation, but completely different focus of attention, producing completely different results. A man named Christopher had a paralyzing fear of starting his own business. He'd been planning it for years, but never took the leap because his attention was dominated by fears: fear of losing his savings, fear of failure, fear of what others would think. These fears felt absolutely real and justified. Then he learned Dumont's principle of redirecting concentrated attention. He made a commitment. Every time his mind focused on a fear, he would notice it and immediately redirect his concentration to a specific action step he could take toward his business. Fear of losing money? Concentrate on creating a detailed financial plan. Fear of failure? Concentrate on researching successful strategies in his industry. Fear of judgment? Concentrate on clarifying why this business mattered to him, regardless of others' opinions. This practice didn't eliminate Christopher's fears, but it stopped them from controlling him. His concentrated attention was focused on forward movement rather than worst-case scenarios, and within 6 months, he'd launched his business. Within 2 years, it was thriving beyond his initial projections. The fears he'd concentrated so much energy on never materialized because his focused action prevented them, and even if some challenges had arisen, he'd developed the mental strength through concentration practice to handle them effectively. Now let's explore concentration's role in creativity and innovation, because many people mistakenly believe that creativity requires a scattered, undisciplined mind. They think concentration is for mundane tasks while creative work needs freedom and spontaneity. Dumont reveals this is completely backward. True creativity emerges from concentrated attention, not scattered thinking. The greatest artists, inventors, and innovators throughout history were masters of concentration who could focus intensely on their creative work for hours without interruption. Consider the creative process. Real creativity isn't random inspiration that strikes like lightning. It's the result of concentrated attention on a problem or question until your mind makes connections others miss, sees patterns others overlook, generates solutions others cannot imagine. You concentrate on your creative work so intensely that your subconscious engages fully, drawing on everything you've ever learned or experienced to produce something genuinely novel. Scattered attention produces derivative, superficial work. Concentrated attention produces breakthrough innovation. There's a wonderful story about a painter named Diana who was frustrated with her artistic development. She painted regularly but felt her work lacked depth and originality. She would start paintings with excitement but quickly lose focus, leaving dozens of canvases half-finished. Her attention would scatter to other ideas before completing the current one. Then Diana read about Dumont's concentration principles and decided to apply them to her art. She committed to working on one painting at a time with complete concentration until it was finished, no matter how long it took, no matter what other ideas emerged. The first painting took her 3 weeks of concentrated daily work, longer than any painting she'd ever completed. But when she finished, she knew it was the best work she'd ever created. There was a depth, a coherence, a power that her previous scattered efforts had never achieved. She continued this practice, concentrating fully on each piece until completion, and her work transformed dramatically. Within a year, she had her first gallery show. Within 2 years, she was supporting herself through her art. The talent had always been there, but only concentration allowed it to fully express itself. Dumont also addresses the relationship between concentration and habit formation, which is crucial for anyone trying to change their life. Bad habits persist because they've become automatic, requiring no conscious attention. Good habits take hold when you practice them with concentrated attention until they too become automatic. Most people try to change habits while their attention is scattered, which is why they fail. They half-heartedly attempt a new behavior, while most of their mental energy remains focused on old patterns. Concentration is the key that allows new patterns to replace old ones. The technique is straightforward, but requires discipline. Choose one habit you want to develop, just one. For 30 days, practice this habit with your complete concentrated attention every single day. Not mindlessly going through the motions, but consciously focusing on the behavior, noticing every aspect of it, feeling satisfaction in its completion. This concentrated attention embeds the new pattern deeply in your brain, far more effectively than months of scattered, inconsistent effort would. A man named Richard wanted to develop a meditation practice, but had tried and failed dozens of times over the years. He would meditate for a few days, then skip a day, then forget entirely, then restart weeks later, then quit again. The pattern was frustratingly consistent. Then he applied Dumont's concentration principle to habit formation. He committed to meditating for just 10 minutes every morning for 30 days with one crucial addition. He would give complete, concentrated attention not just to the meditation itself, but to the act of maintaining the habit. Each morning, he would consciously notice himself keeping his commitment, feel satisfaction in his consistency, reinforce the identity of being someone who meditates daily. This concentrated attention on the habit, not just the activity itself, created a powerful shift. By day 30, meditation felt like a natural part of his morning, like brushing his teeth. By day 60, skipping it felt wrong, uncomfortable. By day 90, it was completely automatic, requiring no willpower to maintain. Richard had tried for years to build this habit with scattered attention and failed. With concentrated attention for just 30 days, he established it permanently. He then applied this same technique to exercise, reading, and healthy eating, each time concentrating fully on establishing the pattern until it became automatic. Let's talk about concentration in the context of wealth and financial success, because Dumont has fascinating insights on this topic. He observes that wealthy people aren't necessarily smarter or more talented than others, but they concentrate their attention on opportunities, while most people concentrate on obstacles. They focus on possibilities, while others focus on limitations. They think constantly about wealth creation, while others think constantly about financial problems. This concentrated attention on wealth and opportunity actually attracts wealth and opportunity because it programs the subconscious to notice and seize chances that others miss. This isn't magical thinking or the idea that you can just wish money into existence. It's the practical reality that you move toward whatever dominates your concentrated attention. If your attention is constantly on debt, lack, and financial stress, your decisions and actions will be governed by scarcity mentality, causing you to miss opportunities and make fear-based choices. If your attention is concentrated on value creation, strategic thinking, and financial growth, your decisions and actions will naturally align with wealth building, even if you start from a position of financial difficulty. Consider two people in identical financial situations, both in debt and struggling. The first person concentrates their mental energy on worry. How will I pay these bills? What if I lose my job? I'll never get out of this situation. The second person acknowledges their financial reality, but concentrates their mental energy on solutions. What skills could I develop to increase my income? What expenses could I eliminate? What opportunities exist that I'm not seeing? How have others overcome similar situations? Same starting point, but completely different focus of attention, leading to completely different outcomes over time. A woman named Patricia proved this principle dramatically. She was drowning in debt, working a low-paying job, seeing no way forward financially. Her attention was consumed by anxiety about money, and this anxiety paralyzed her into inaction. Then she discovered Dumont's teachings and made a radical decision. She would dedicate 30 minutes each day to concentrated focus on financial opportunity and wealth creation. Not worrying about her current situation, but actively concentrating on possibilities. During these 30 minutes, she would read about successful businesses, study investment principles, brainstorm income-generating ideas, and visualize herself financially secure. Something remarkable began to happen. Within these concentrated sessions, creative ideas emerged that she'd never considered. She realized she had skills that could be monetized through freelancing. She noticed business opportunities in her community that others overlooked. She began taking small actions that grew into income streams. Within 1 year, she'd eliminated her debt. Within 2 years, she'd tripled her income. Within 3 years, she'd built a 6-figure business. The external circumstances hadn't magically improved. She improved her concentrated attention from problems to opportunities, and that shift in focus changed everything. Dumont emphasizes repeatedly that the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your attention, and the quality of your attention is determined by your ability to concentrate it consciously, rather than allowing it to be controlled by circumstances. Most people are victims of their attention, pulled this way and that by external events, internal moods, random thoughts, and conditioned reactions. They experience life as something that happens to them. People who master concentration become creators of their experience. They consciously direct their attention toward what they want to create, experience, and become, and life begins to conform to their vision. This is perhaps Dumont's most profound teaching. You become what you concentrate upon. If you concentrate on problems, you become a person defined by problems. If you concentrate on possibilities, you become a person defined by achievement. If you concentrate on resentment, you become bitter. If you concentrate on gratitude, you become joyful. If you concentrate on fear, you become timid. If you concentrate on courage, you become bold. Your concentrated attention is literally sculpting your character, your personality, your destiny, moment by moment, day by day, year by year. Think about the person you've become up to this point in your life. Now trace backward and examine where your attention is habitually focused. If you're angry or cynical, you've concentrated on what's wrong with the world. If you're optimistic and energized, you've concentrated on what's possible. If you feel like a victim, you've concentrated on how circumstances have limited you. If you feel empowered, you've concentrated on how you can influence outcomes. The connection between concentrated attention and personality is absolute and unavoidable. This is simultaneously sobering and liberating. Sobering because you must take responsibility for where your attention has been. Liberating because you can choose, starting right now, where your attention will go. There's a powerful story about two brothers who grew up in an abusive, poverty-stricken household. Years later, one brother was successful, happy, contributing positively to the world. The other was in prison, angry, repeating the dysfunctional patterns of their childhood. A researcher asked each of them the same question: "How did you end up here?" Both gave the identical answer: "With a childhood like mine, how could I have ended up anywhere else? Same history, completely different outcomes." And the difference was where each man concentrated his attention. One focused on the lessons, the opportunities to grow, the determination to break the cycle. The other focused on the wounds, the unfairness, the victimhood. Their concentrated attention created two completely different lives from identical starting points. This demonstrates that while you cannot always choose your circumstances, you can always choose where you place your concentrated attention, and that choice determines everything about your future. This is the ultimate freedom and the ultimate responsibility. Dumont is essentially saying, stop blaming your past, your circumstances, your luck, your genetics, or anything else external for your life situation. Your life is the product of where your attention has habitually focused. And if you want a different life, focus your attention differently starting now. Now let's discuss the practical integration of all these principles into a comprehensive approach to life mastery. Dumont isn't asking you to become a monk or withdraw from normal life. He's showing you how to bring concentrated attention into everything you do, transforming ordinary activities into opportunities for excellence. The concentrated life isn't about perfection, it's about intention. It's about waking up each morning and consciously choosing where your mental energy will focus that day. It's about protecting your attention as your most valuable resource, more valuable than time or money, because attention properly focused creates both time and money. Here's a framework for living with concentration that synthesizes everything we've explored. First, begin each day with a concentration practice, even just 10 minutes of focused attention on a single object or your breath. This sets the tone, strengthens your mental muscles, and centers you for the day ahead. Second, identify your single most important objective for the day and designate a protected concentration period to work on it with complete focus. Third, bring concentrated presence to your interactions with others, really listening, really connecting, really being there. Fourth, Eliminate or minimize activities and commitments that fragment your attention without providing real value. Fifth, end each day with a brief review, noticing where your concentration was strong and where it wavered, learning from both. This framework sounds simple because it is simple. Dumont's entire teaching is elegantly straightforward. Take control of your attention, focus it consciously on what matters, and watch your life transform. The difficulty isn't in understanding it. The difficulty is in actually doing it consistently when everything in modern life conspires to scatter your attention. Your phone constantly beeps and buzzes. Your email inbox never stops filling. Your mind has been conditioned to crave constant novelty and stimulation. Everyone around you is scattered, distracted, fragmented. Swimming against this current requires determination and discipline. But here's the beautiful truth that makes it all worthwhile. Once you develop real concentration ability, your life becomes exponentially better in every dimension. You accomplish more with less effort. You experience deeper satisfaction from your activities. Your relationships become more meaningful. Your work becomes more rewarding. Your stress decreases, while your sense of control increases. Problems that once seemed insurmountable become merely challenging. Goals that once seemed impossible become achievable steps on your path. You wake up each day knowing that your mental energy will be focused and productive rather than scattered and wasted. This is the promise of concentration mastery, and it's a promise that thousands of people have proven true by implementing Dumont's principles. Let me leave you with one final story that brings everything together. There was a man named William who, at age 45, looked at his life with deep dissatisfaction. He had an okay career, but not the one he'd dreamed of. He had okay relationships, but not deep connection. He had okay health, but not vitality. He had accomplished okay things, but nothing he was proud of. He was living a life of mediocrity, despite having intelligence, opportunities, and decades of effort behind him. He couldn't understand why he'd achieved so little relative to his potential. Then William discovered the power of concentration and realized the answer had been staring at him all along. He had never, in his entire life, concentrated fully on anything. He'd dabbled in multiple careers without mastering one. He'd been physically present in relationships without mentally present. He'd started countless projects without finishing them. He'd scattered his mental energy across 1,000 interests without focusing it on anything specific long enough to achieve excellence. He'd been busy his entire adult life, but never concentrated. Active, but never focused. Working, but never mastering. William made a decision that day that changed everything. For the next year, he would practice concentration as his primary focus, treating it as more important than any specific outcome. He began with the basic attention exercises, training his mind daily to focus on simple objects without wavering. He designated morning concentration periods where he worked on his most important objectives with absolute focus. He practiced bringing concentrated presence to his marriage, really listening to his wife, really being there with her. He chose one neglected health goal, weight loss, and concentrated on it with disciplined attention until he succeeded. The transformation over that year was stunning. His career took off because his concentrated work produced exceptional results that got noticed and rewarded. His marriage deepened into genuine partnership because his wife finally felt truly seen and heard. His health improved dramatically through focused attention on exercise and nutrition. His confidence soared because he was finally finishing things, accomplishing goals, becoming the person he'd always known he could be. By age 46, William was living a life he'd only dreamed of at 45, and the only thing that had changed was his ability to concentrate. That's the power Dumont is offering you right now, in this moment, as you listen to these words. Not the power to magically transform your external circumstances overnight, but something far more valuable. The power to transform your internal capacity to create the life you want. Concentration is the master skill that makes every other skill more effective. It's the foundation of achievement, the prerequisite for excellence, the secret of those who seem to accomplish the impossible. And it's available to you right now, if you're willing to practice it. You don't need special talents or advantages. You don't need more time or better circumstances. You need only one thing: the commitment to developing your ability to concentrate your mental energy on what truly matters. Starting today, starting with your very next action, you can begin this practice. Notice where your attention is right now. Is it scattered, fragmented, pulled in multiple directions? Gently bring it back to this moment, to these words, to your intention to improve your life. That simple act, repeated thousands of times, is how you build the skill that will change everything. The life you've been dreaming of, the person you've always known you could become, the achievements you've told yourself were out of reach, they're all waiting on the other side of one skill: concentration. Every great achievement in human history began with concentrated thought that refused to be distracted until the vision became reality. You have that same power within you right now. The question isn't whether you can develop it. The question is whether you will. Will you continue scattering your mental energy across 1,000 distractions while complaining about lack of results? Or will you concentrate your power like a laser beam and watch obstacles melt before you? Remember Thomas, who went from stuck employee to successful entrepreneur through concentration. Remember Sarah, who went from wannabe writer to published author through concentration. Remember Michael, who went from failing business owner to thriving success through concentration. Remember every story you've heard today, and understand that they're not special cases or lucky exceptions. They're demonstrations of a principle that works for everyone who applies it. Concentrated attention produces extraordinary results. Your life, 10 years from now, will be the direct result of where you choose to focus your concentrated attention starting today. Not where your attention randomly wanders, but where you consciously, deliberately, persistently direct it. If you concentrate on building wealth, you'll be wealthy. If you concentrate on developing skills, you'll be skilled. If you concentrate on creating meaningful relationships, you'll have them. If you concentrate on health, you'll be healthy. The universe responds to concentrated mental energy with mathematical precision. What you focus on expands. What you concentrate upon becomes real. What captures your sustained attention eventually manifests in your physical experience. This is not philosophy or theory. This is observable law demonstrated millions of times throughout human history. And now you know it. Now you understand the secret that most people never discover. The question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you let it become just another interesting idea that you heard once and forgot, or will you implement it starting right now and watch your life transform? The choice is yours, but understand this. Choosing not to develop concentration is still a choice, and it's a choice to remain where you are, producing the same results you've always produced. If you're satisfied with your life exactly as it is, then maybe you don't need this skill. But if there's any part of you that knows you're capable of more, that feels frustrated by the gap between your potential and your results, that dreams of achieving something significant before your time runs out, then concentration is not optional, it's essential. Take the first step today, right now, this moment. Put down your phone after this ends. Close unnecessary tabs. Choose one important task. Set a timer for 25 minutes. Focus completely on that task, nothing else, until the timer sounds. When your mind wanders, and it will, gently bring it back. Feel the discomfort of sustained focus, because that discomfort is your mental muscles growing stronger. Do this once today, once tomorrow, once the day after. Build the habit one concentrated session at a time. Within a month, you'll notice the difference. Within 3 months, others will notice. Within a year, you'll be a different person living a different life. This is the power of concentration, the gift that Theron Q. Dumont offers you through his timeless wisdom. It's a gift that keeps giving, because once you develop this skill, it benefits every area of your life forever. Unlike money that can be spent or opportunities that can be missed, the ability to concentrate is an internal resource that only grows stronger with use and can never be taken from you. It's the one investment that always pays dividends, the one skill that amplifies all other skills, the one practice that guarantees progress toward any goal you choose. So here's my challenge to you. Prove it to yourself. Don't just believe what I've shared or what Dumont teaches. Test it. Practice concentrated attention for 30 days and observe what happens. Track your results. Notice the changes. Feel the transformation. Become your own evidence that concentration works. Once you experience it firsthand, once you see what focused mental energy can accomplish, you'll never go back to scattered living. You'll protect your attention fiercely, because you'll understand it's the source of everything you create. And please, if this message has resonated with you, if these ideas have sparked something in you, if you feel inspired to develop your concentration and transform your life, please like and subscribe to Audiobook Library. Your support helps this channel grow and allows us to continue bringing you these powerful, life-changing books and ideas. Every like, every subscription, every share helps spread these teachings to more people who need them. Together, we're building a community of focused, intentional, concentrated individuals who are creating extraordinary lives in a world of distraction. Also, please check out our video library, where you'll find summaries of other transformative books that complement everything you've learned today. Books on productivity, success, mindset, wealth building, personal development, all designed to give you the knowledge and inspiration you need to create the life you truly want. We're constantly adding new content to serve you better, so make sure you're subscribed with notifications on, so you never miss a video that could change your life. Remember, you are capable of far more than you've yet achieved. The only thing standing between you and your dreams is your current inability to concentrate your mental power on their achievement. But that inability is temporary, changeable, trainable. Starting today, you can begin developing the most valuable skill any human can possess: the power to concentrate your attention, your energy, your life force on what truly matters. And when you do, watch the magic unfold. Thank you for listening. Now go practice concentration and create the life you deserve.